What's up, world? This is Sensei the Oz at ARAM Recording and Mastering. Today, I'm going to show you how to get rid of clicks and pops in stems. Sometimes when you receive stems from other recording studios or other producers, you may run into an issue. At least this has been a common issue for me, where I might receive a session from another studio or another producer, and they'll have clicks and popping noises inside the stems where the producer or the person that did the beat, however it might be, beat maker, where they looped the that particular stem, and you want the loop to sound smooth. You don't want to hear a click or a popping noise at each and every time that it loops. So in this particular case, I'm working with a bass. So there's two ways that I like to tackle this particular problem. I either like to use a parametric EQ and basically use the parametric EQ like a low pass filter and filter out the area where you're hearing the click and pop. Sometimes that could be pretty effective, sometimes it's not. The second technique that I like to use is the where you cut the section right where you're hearing the click and the popping noise at, and do a quick fade in or a fade out on both actually, and do the timing between 3 milliseconds to 15 milliseconds on the fade in and the fade out in between those two parts when you cut them, and that's proven to be very effective. So I'm gonna play this track and I'm gonna let you hear the where the actual clip or popping noise is at. You hear that? See, that is what you don't want in your final mix. So we're going to try the first technique. We're going to use a parametric EQ. And this can work with Pro Tools. This can work with, any type of DAW that you like to use. Most DAWs have a parametric EQ, and most of them have cutting tools or pasting tools that you can use when you're messing with stems. So we're gonna play the track and set the low pass filter cutoff at about 450 hertz with a 24 decibel curve. Let's try 450. So you hear that? You still hear it. Let's try to go down to 350. So you're still hearing it. I typically don't like to go lower than 350 when I'm trying to use a low pass filter, because you want your bass to still sound nice and full. And when you start cutting into those frequencies where bass is generally going to have its range, you'll mess with the power of your bass, and it won't sound nearly as thick, it won't sound as powerful in the mix. So this technique isn't very effective in this particular case. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the other technique where we know that the cutoff is at the 41st measure. So take a knife, cut it right there, and then I'm going to do a fade in and fade out at about 15 milliseconds and see what we come up with. I'm still hearing it. So I'm not hearing it as much, but it bothers me if I can solo out and still hear it. So generally I'll go back to the parametric EQ, and let's attempt to do a 24 dB curve and make the cutoff at about 500 hertz and see what we come up with. I don't hear it now. You know, now when it loops, all you're hearing is just a smooth transition, and that's what you want. This is how I get rid of the click and pop noise when that particular stem is looping in the song, and this time we did it with a bass. All right, this is Sensei to Oz from Abraham Recording and Mastering, and you take care.